The atmosphere on the set of Today with Jenna and Friends was supposed to be lighthearted and celebratory when country superstar Tim McGraw appeared for what was billed as an intimate interview about his latest album and tour. The morning show, known for its friendly tone and easygoing conversations, had hosted countless celebrities over the years, but on this particular morning, something felt slightly off from the very beginning. McGraw, typically composed and gracious in interviews, arrived on set with a calm but guarded demeanor. The audience could sense that this wasn't going to be just another cheerful celebrity chat. As the cameras rolled, co-host Jenna Bush Hager greeted McGraw with her usual warmth, welcoming him back to the show. They exchanged brief pleasantries, reminiscing about his past appearances and the evolution of his music over the decades. McGraw talked about his recent work, mentioning how he's matured both personally and professionally, and how his songs have come to reflect deeper emotional layers. He spoke of family, his wife Faith Hill, and the constant balance between fame and personal life. It was all going smoothly until the conversation took a sharp turn that caught McGraw off guard. Jenna, who is usually tactful with her questions, transitioned from talking about his music to asking about the themes of struggle and redemption in his recent lyrics. She mentioned how some fans speculated that his songs hinted at internal conflicts, possibly alluding to his past battles with alcohol and stress from fame. McGraw smiled politely but didn't elaborate much, saying only that his music has always reflected the truth of his experiences. Jenna, perhaps sensing an opening, pressed a bit further. She asked whether those struggles had ever caused friction in his marriage or affected his relationship with his daughters. That's when the first hint of tension appeared on McGraw's face. He shifted in his chair, his voice firm but still calm as he replied that his family life was private and that while he understood fans' curiosity, his songs were not confessions, they were stories meant to connect with people emotionally. Jenna nodded, but rather than moving on, she brought up a viral clip from years ago where McGraw had talked about his temper and the pressures of balancing his personal life with the demands of celebrity. The audience chuckled nervously as she quoted one of his old remarks about losing patience in the spotlight. McGraw gave a tight smile, visibly irritated, and responded that people grow and change, and that revisiting old comments often misses the point. At that moment, co-host Chanel Jones chimed in, attempting to diffuse the tension with a lighter tone, asking McGraw about his fitness routine and his motivation to stay in such remarkable shape at his age. McGraw laughed softly, seemingly grateful for the redirection, but the calm didn't last long. Jenna then brought the focus back to the broader topic of authenticity in country music. She remarked that several country artists in recent years had faced criticism for watering down their sound or becoming too commercial. She asked if McGraw felt the same pressure to keep his music, country, enough while appealing to mainstream audiences. McGraw leaned forward, his expression tightening again. He replied that music evolves, and artists have the right to explore new sounds without being told what's authentic enough. He explained that country music is about storytelling, not labels, and that judging artists for experimenting is missing the spirit of the genre. Jenna countered with a mention of traditional fans feeling left behind when artists move toward pop influences, subtly implying that McGraw himself had done that in some of his recent hits. That's when his tone shifted from defensive to downright frustrated. He crossed his arms and said, "I've been making music for 30 years. I've done traditional country, I've done modern country, and I've done songs that don't fit neatly into a box. That's the beauty of it. If people want the same sound over and over, they can listen to the same records from the past. But I'm not here to repeat myself." His words were sharp but steady, and the audience fell silent. Jenna tried to lighten the mood by smiling and saying, "I didn't mean to ruffle any feathers," but McGraw didn't return the smile. Instead, he said, "Well, it feels like you did." The tension was now impossible to ignore. The crew members exchanged quick glances off camera, and the air in the studio thickened. Chanel tried again to steer the conversation to safer ground, asking about his upcoming tour and what fans could expect from his performances. McGraw gave short, clipped answers, his enthusiasm gone. But Jenna, determined to get a memorable moment out of the interview, made one final attempt to push a controversial topic. She asked about his opinions on the current political climate in country music, referencing other artists who had been outspoken on social issues and whether he felt pressured to take sides publicly. That question seemed to hit a nerve. McGraw took a long pause, exhaled, and said carefully, "I'm a singer, not a politician. I write songs about life and emotion, not about who's right or wrong in Washington." Jenna pressed again, asking whether staying silent was, in itself, a political choice. McGraw's jaw clenched, and he replied, "I think people are tired of being told what to think. They come to my shows to escape that noise, not to get more of it." His voice grew firmer, and the calm he had tried to maintain began to slip away. The room felt electric now, tense, uncertain. Jenna, perhaps realizing the interview was unraveling, tried to soften her tone, saying she respected his privacy and artistry. But McGraw wasn't having it. He leaned back in his chair, shaking his head slightly. "You know," he said, "I came here to talk about my new record, the tour, and my fans. I didn't come here to have my integrity questioned or my music turned into a political statement." The audience murmured, sensing that something extraordinary was unfolding live before their eyes. Jenna tried to apologize and transition to a lighter topic, but McGraw stood up suddenly. His movement was calm but unmistakably decisive. He adjusted his microphone, removed his earpiece, and said into the camera, "I think I'm done here." The audience gasped. Jenna looked stunned, her smile frozen in place as she said, "Tim, wait, hold on," but McGraw didn't stop. He looked around briefly, nodded to the crew, and walked off the set. The studio fell silent except for the nervous shuffle of papers and the low murmur of confusion from the audience. Jenna, to her credit, recovered quickly. She smiled awkwardly at the camera and said something about taking a quick break. The network cut to commercial. When the show returned, Jenna and Chanel briefly addressed what had happened, saying that emotions had run high and that they hoped to welcome McGraw back another time. Behind the scenes, sources later claimed that McGraw had been frustrated even before the interview began. Apparently, his team had provided a list of topics to avoid, particularly anything involving his personal struggles, political opinions, or past controversies, but the producers had decided to go off script to generate buzz. McGraw, known for being professional and courteous, reportedly felt blindsided when those topics were raised repeatedly. Fans reacted immediately on social media. Some applauded McGraw for standing up for himself and refusing to let the media steer the narrative, while others criticized him for overreacting during what they saw as standard journalistic questioning. Clips of the moment spread rapidly across X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube, with hashtags like #TimMcGrawWalkOff and #TodayShowDrama trending within hours. Several media commentators weighed in later that day, suggesting that the confrontation highlighted a growing rift between entertainers and talk shows, where interviews increasingly prioritize viral moments over genuine conversation. Others argued that McGraw's reaction, while dramatic, reflected a broader fatigue among celebrities who feel pressured to comment on issues outside their work. Meanwhile, McGraw's representatives declined to comment immediately, though a brief statement was released later saying that he values honest conversation but expects mutual respect in any interview setting. The Today producers also released a short note acknowledging the incident, calling it an unfortunate misunderstanding, and praising McGraw for his decades-long contribution to music. By the afternoon, speculation swirled about whether McGraw would return to the show or issue a public apology, but those close to him insisted he stood by his actions. In the days that followed, his fanbase seemed to rally even more strongly behind him, interpreting his walk-off as an act of integrity rather than impulsiveness. Comment threads on social media were filled with fans defending him, saying he had every right to set boundaries when interviewers crossed into territory he had asked them to avoid. Ultimately, the moment became another example of how quickly a seemingly harmless morning show appearance can spiral into viral controversy. For Tim McGraw, the incident underscored his long-held belief that authenticity matters more than media performance. Whether or not he ever returns to Today with Jenna and Friends, one thing was clear to everyone watching. That morning, Tim McGraw reminded the world that even in the polished, carefully choreographed realm of daytime television, emotions are real, and respect still matters.